welcome to my cider shed. I'd like to show you how I got this all started. So I started making cider for friends out of a demi like this. So you have the airlock here, you have the apple juice that sits in here. Add some yeast and the yeast will eat the sugar in the apple juice, and as it ferments it will produce CO2 and alcohol. CO2 then goes through the airlock and allows it to belch out the CO2. Then as the yeast finishes off eating the sugar, there's residual alcohol that's made and then turns the apple juice into cider. Mind's Eye Brewing Co. is a rewarding venture. It started as a hobby. So initially I was fermenting for friends and giving it away as presents and things. And then my friends came back and said, you know what, I want to have some more and I wouldn't mind paying for it. So I charged a few quid a bottle. And then before you know it, I was making a few buckets loads. And then I thought, well, maybe I could turn this into a business. So I did a forecast of the costs, looked into the Prince's Trust, now called the King's Trust, and they gave me a grant of £2,000 to help support the growth of my business. So the startup costs altogether, with all the equipment, come into about £6,000, and I can make that back in about 2 years. If I have one market stall every month, bringing in a gross revenue of about £400 a market, I can make maybe between £4,000 and £5,000 a year in gross from one market a month. So here's Presswood's Best. We make this in Presswood using apples from Andelo's farm. It's a mixture of British Heritage apple varieties. It's a 330ml bottle. We're selling out at markets. It's our best-selling cider at the moment. This is Eden's Gold. It's a dry cider, fermented over 6 months and then bottle conditioned for a further 6 months. We have a supplier in Southampton, a retired GP who's been making cider for 40 years. It's one of our best-selling ciders. It's fermented using 3 British Heritage apple varieties, Kingston Black, Dabonet and Harry Masters Jersey. So this is our medium cider. It's St George's cider, fermented in Devon, produced by Simon Mower, who's been making cider for 10 years. We've recently started to work with him and his company. They're new to cider making, but we think they produce something that's very delicious. My favourite is Eden's Gold, because Stephen Hayes is a really, really good cider maker, as he's been making it for 40 years. So we think he's got it down to a T. So yeah, I think it will eventually become a viable, profitable business. The biggest challenge has been the reliability of making drinkable cider. It's easy to drink, but hard to make. I will steal from Jeremy Clarkson and his Hawkston, because it's very true. Being a brewer or a fermenter of cider or wine, it's very tricky to get repeatable products. Because cider is a fruit-derived alcoholic beverage, it's much like a wine. So every year is going to be different depending on how much sun and water the apples have had, how the summer's been. If it's been quite a dry summer, you're going to get a lot more sugars in the apples, but you won't get as much of a juice yield. But if it's been quite a wet summer, then you'll have more of a glut of apples, but the quality of the sweetness and the flavour profiles of the apples will be different depending on how the weather's been that year. Every year is different, much like a wine. I'd love to upscale production and be able to host more markets, because at the moment my supply isn't meeting the demand. So I'm looking at partnering with new suppliers. So this is the biggest cost, the biggest expense of my cider business is the equipment. So we'll start off with a speedle mill. So the speedle mill here, you put the apples in. The speeder mill has a centrifugal blade that chops up the apples. Then you collect the pomace in a bucket. The pomace is then pressed in the hydraulic press. The hydraulic press has a balloon in it that expands and puts 3.5 bars of pressure onto the pomace. The pomace is then juiced and the juice is collected. The juice then we put into a fermentation vessel that then you can sit there with an airlock on it and sit there for ideally minimum of 4 weeks. So when you come into bottling, so this gravity bottle filling machine can process a few hundred litres of cider an hour, so I think 300 litres an hour.
Thank you for watching this video. If you got this far, please consider subscribing. Thanks. Until next time.